In 2003, Naughty Dog released their final game in the Jak and Daxter trilogy. Going from Jak and Daxter, the precursor legacy, a colorful and joyful game, pivoting to Jak 2 with guns and shit, to Jak 3 with more monsters, more guns, and more cars. But was Jak 3 really the best way to end the series? With only 1 year of development from Jak 2, some might argue that Jak 3 isn't as polished or as great as the first two games. Exactly 1 year later, just 12 months after the massive, sprawling epic of Jak 2, Naughty Dog delivered Jak 3. To this day, a 1 year development cycle for a game of this scale and graphical fidelity at the time remains a mind-boggling technical miracle. But like I said before, did the rushed schedule hurt the final chapter of the trilogy? Was it a crash grab? The ultimate refinement of everything the series built? Or was it something completely different? The game opens by stripping you of almost everything. You don't have any guns, no hoverboard, nothing. Blamed for the ongoing war in Haven City, Jak is banished to the harsh, unforgiving Wasteland. After he was banished by the city counselor, he was rescued by Damus, the ruthless king but honorable king of Spargus City. This change in scenery is a breath of fresh air. Where Haven City was a claustrophobic, metallic, and oppressive, the Wasteland is vast, bright, and boundless. At first it seemed like Jak was going to be all by himself, but turns out that Daxter and Pecker, of all people, or animal, whatever, joined him. Jak was obviously pissed at Ashlyn and everybody in the city for banishing him. Understandably, obviously, if you get banished from a fucking city that you helped rescue and protected, I'd be pretty fucking pissed too. Now that a desert was introduced into the series, the developers had to think of a way for players to get around. Yes, they could have used the hovercrafts from the second game, but I feel like they went in the right direction when they introduced ground vehicles, you know, cars with wheels and shit. So to navigate this massive new sandbox, Jak 3 leans heavily into almost a Mad Max aesthetic. You are given access to a garage of heavily armed dune buggies, the Tough Puppy, the Sand Shark, the Dune Hopper. Each vehicle handles differently and comes equipped with machine guns or grenade launchers. You spend hours bounding over massive sand dunes, battling Marauder vehicles in high speed, explosive car chases, and many more things. While the vehicle physics can occasionally feel a bit floaty and chaotic, don't get me started, we'll talk about that later, the sheer sense of scale and speed was unraveled on the PS2 at the time. Spargus itself serves as an excellent new hub. It operates on a harsh rule of survival of the fittest. To stay, Jak has to prove his worth in the arena, a brutal gladiatorial pit that provides some of the game's most intense, fast-paced combat challenges. It immediately establishes a tone that feels slightly more mature, yet notably less edgy and angsty than Jak 2. Jak is no longer just angry, he's a seasoned warrior looking for answers. I mean, the guy is still fucking angry. I mean, he has dark eco, he has a bunch of anger issues, he's obviously fucking pissed, you know, for being banished. But he does channel that anger into being more serious and less of an ass, basically. Jak 3 really just throws you into the fray compared to Jak 1 and Jak 2. This game, the cutscene opens as soon as you learn the game. Like, you don't select anything, the game just starts. It just puts you in. You don't select new game, nothing. The game just fucking starts. And it plays the initial beginning cutscene. And then right after that, you get placed in the battle arena and you get your first weapon immediately. I feel like this game, we'll talk about it later in the video, but this game is very fast paced in my opinion compared to Jak 1 and Jak 2. I feel like developers not only rushed development, but the game feels like rushed. Like, it feels more like a speed run rather than a playthrough, in my opinion. And speaking of Jak being angry because of dark eco, in Jak 2, Jak was consumed by dark eco, turning him into a raging monster. Jak 3 seeks to balance his soul and the gameplay by introducing Light Jak. By locating ancient precursor statues, Jak earns angelic light eco powers. These abilities fundamentally change your approach to combat exploration. Light Jak is the ultimate utility belt. Regeneration allows you to heal anywhere, alleviating the punishing difficulty spikes that plagued the previous game. Flash Freeze slows down time, letting you run circles around enemies or navigate collapsing platforms. And the Flight ability gives you the wings you need for some spectacular late game platforming. It acts as the perfect yin to Dark Jack's destructive yang. But let's be honest, you aren't here for peace and harmony, at least Jack isn't. You're here for the Morph Gun. Jak 3 takes the 4 basic weapons from the previous game and gives each one 2 massive game-changing upgrades, albeit some good, some bad, bringing the total of 12 unique firing modes, and the weapon design here is absolutely unhinged in the best way possible. The red scattergun eventually upgrades to the Plasmite RPG. The yellow blaster becomes the beam reflector, a weapon that shoots lasers that bounce off every surface, turning any enclosed room into a building disco of death that clears out enemies with you without even aiming. In the Peacekeeper, it upgrades to Supernova, a literal handheld nuke like in Ratchet & Clank that wipes the entire fucking screen. You literally get flashbang. The combat shifts from the careful tactical encounters of Jak 2 into an absolute glorious power fantasy. Now this is where I critiqued the game, both Jak 2 and Jak 3. When Jak 2 introduced Dark Eco Jak and Jak 3 built upon that foundation, I feel like the developers didn't really do a good job to really make the player actually use Dark Jak or even Light Jak. I feel like there were only a few moments in both games where it was kind of necessary to use the dark abilities or even light abilities. Like if there was like a giant group of enemies, yeah, you'll use Dark Bomb or the fucking Kamehameha ability for Dark Jak. As for Light Jak, I feel like that ability, the healing one, was the most useful out of all of them. Because in this game, there are like barely any healing packs. There are no health boxes anywhere. So healing with that ability is actually came in fucking clutch, like all the time. And then the time stopping one and then the flight one, like those only were like viable like probably like twice, maybe 3 times tops. And I don't know, maybe I'm not that kind of player that just spams abilities. Because even then you get punished. I guess not punished. You don't get you run out of the energy bar, right? You have to find more light orbs. You have to find more dark eco pellets, whatever the fuck they're called, to regenerate that power bar. So using the ability, it just runs out really quick. Once you use an ability, it turns off. So I don't know. I feel like the dark eco and light eco powers that Jak gets are kind of useless, if I'm being quite honest. Like, it is cool that they give him powers, right? And how he infused with dark and light eco, unlike most people. But like in the lore, obviously. But gameplay wise, they could have made it way better. The game relies more on the guns, if I'm being honest. And now the guns. There are some guns. Okay, from Jak 2 to Jak 3. Jak 2, literally the only viable guns were the yellow one, the blaster, and the blue one, the machine gun. I think it's called the something cannon, whatever. Those are the only 2 guns I really used in Jak 2. The scatter gun, the red one, the shotgun, that was fucking useless. It had the range of a fucking meter or less. And it did like shit damage. The yellow one was the most accurate, I guess, and the one did a lot of damage. The blue one did damage, but that shit ran out so fast because it was a fucking minigun. And then the Peacemaker, you get it the last 5 minutes of the game, so you don't even fucking get to use it. So that was kind of a waste. Like, they hyped the player because Sig has it, and it's like a one-shot kill for all the enemies, and yet we barely get to use it because we get it like at the very end of the fucking game. Now, when I mentioned the morph gun, that's a really good, really cool upgrade that they did for the weapons, which I really liked. But again, there's only so many things. Okay, maybe it's just a me thing. I only used the reflector one, the bounty bullets, or like the 3rd upgrade for the blue one, or even the 2nd upgrade for the blue one. The 2nd upgrade is like a Tesla cannon, and the 3rd upgrade is like a needles that like follow enemies. Now, the scattergun did have a major upgrade with 2 weapons or attachments or mods that you get for it. The first one being that little wave thing. When you charge it up, it does that wave scatter. The only downside of that weapon is that a full charge takes away 5 bullets from the reserve. So every time you shoot it, you're losing 5 rounds. And then the last upgrade, which is the RPG one, that's really cool. It does a fucking ton of damage, but again, I think it takes away like 10 fucking bullets from your reserve. The yellow gun, the blaster, the second upgrade is the best one. You just hit like 5-10 bullets from you just shoot 5 or 10 bullets and they'll bounce like so far or like so hard, and it'll kill everything. It'll clear the entire room. That's the best gun in the fucking game. The third upgrade for it, I forget the name, but it's basically you shoot a little disc and it'll start firing bullets in a circle at a rapid succession. That is kind of cool, but it's kind of useless. I think the second upgrade is way better than that upgrade. Or sorry, the first upgrade. I already mentioned before, the blue gun. The first upgrade, it becomes like a Tesla cannon, like a Tesla coil, where you're shooting just electricity, like, and it kind of like tails, kind of whips. And the third upgrade, I kind of feel like, or second upgrade rather, they're like needles. They like pierce enemies and they go in and out like a few times. It's not just a one shot, one kill, or one shot, one damage. It does multiple shots. And then to the arguably one of the best, low-key, the first upgrade for the Peacemaker is more of a utility rather than a gun. What it does, it kind of stops time, or actually no, it kind of stops time, but it's mostly a zero gravity gun. When you shoot it, everything starts floating. There is no gravity. You can push everything. The physics are kind of cool for its time. You can push things, and it makes it easier to kill shit. The third upgrade was arguably the best in the game, which takes almost the entire. It's like one clip, right? It's a fucking nuke. You shoot it after like a few seconds of delay, maybe like 2, maybe 3 seconds. Your screen turns white, and then once your screen turns white, you see like a fucking mushroom cloud or a mushroom fire explosion thing, and it kills everything in the vicinity. That's arguably the best thing. But again, it's hard to use it because there's not enough ammo, and you get it at the last fucking possible second of the game. To wrap this really long rant up, the developers could have done a bit better when it came to the weapon design and the powers of Jack, and a good way to implement them, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's ass. I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm just saying it could have been better. Maybe it's a hot take. Maybe it's not. But moving on. About a third of the way through the game, Jack returns to Haven City, and the nostalgic reunion is short-lived. The city you spent the entire previous game fighting to liberate is now a full-blown war zone. It has been fractured into 3-way conflict between the remnants of the underground, a new breed of highly advanced Crimson Guard deathbots, and the returning of metalheads. From a development standpoint, this was a brilliant way for Naughty Dog to reuse assets from the previous game without it feeling cheap. The city layout is familiar, but the context has completely changed. Navigating the streets now means dodging crossfire between warring factions. Barricades block old paths, forcing you to find new routes on your hoverboard. The missions in Haven City are pure Hollywood spectacle. You are constantly jumping from one massive set piece to another. One minute you are defending a rebel base from waves of deathbots, the next you are surfing on hover missiles or commanding a massive precursor robot to punch a hole through the city walls. The pacing is absolutely relentless. Now, this is where I talk about Haven City itself. Haven City, from the lore standpoint, from the story standpoint, it makes sense. It's destroyed. It's a fucking war zone, like I said before. But from a development standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint, it's really fucking small. I'm not kidding. If you want to compare Jak 2 Haven City to Jak 3 Haven City, Jak 3 Haven City is like half of the first one, or 75% of the first one, or of Jak 2 rather. There are many sections or zones or whatever that are just gone. And I guess the lore implication is that the war destroyed it. Yes, but I don't know. I feel like from a gameplay standpoint, it makes Haven City kind of small. Like in Jak 2, you can go to Haven City or different sectors of Haven City through many different avenues. You don't have to go through one certain specific way. Jak 3, that's not the case. In Jak 3, you're kind of forced to go. If you want to go to point A from point B, there's a set section that you have to follow. Compared to Jak 2, where if you want to go to point A from point B, you can take you can literally go around the entire map and still make it there. That's not the case in Jak 3. And I understand they offset this by one, the excuse that it's a war, fine, and two, they did add another city, right? They added Spargy City, so I can't really knock on the developers for not, you know, making Haven City what it was before, because they did make it war-torn city, fine, but they did kind of make it smaller, but they did make another fucking city, so it's not like a huge detriment to the gameplay. It just kind of does suck that Haven City got like, I want to say forgotten, but it definitely got the short end of the stick when it came to designing the maps of the game. We'll go into more in detail about the three factions. But yeah, there are three factions. There's the underground, which essentially runs the city, kind of. They became part of the government, or they are the government rather. When they overthrew the, you know, the other one, the Baron, the unofficial government, the one that took over wrong illegally or whatever. And then there's the Crimson Guard ones, which, spoiler alert, Errol from the second game, from Jak 2, he's a fucking cyborg. He controls all the Crimson robots. And then the Metalheads, they're remnants of the previous war from the second game, you know, because we killed the Metalhead leader, but there are still eggs, there are still Metalheads, you know, roaming the planet or the city, whatever. So just because we wiped the king or the leader doesn't mean that they're all gone. So it's fair. Metalheads are still here. Narratively, Jak 3 has a lot of heavy lifting to do. It has to wrap up the mysteries of the precursors, deal with the overarching war, and resolve Jak's personal arc. The villains are wonderfully hateable. Count Vigor is deeply manipulative, arrogant, zealot, and the return of Errol, like I said before. Now a twisted, terrifying cyborg leading the enemy forces. And, you know, he provides a great physical threat to Jak. Spoiler warning once again, spoiler warning for the story. But the emotional core of the game belongs to Damus. As Jak earns the king's respect, a genuine bond forms between them. And one of the most heartbreaking moments of the PS2 era, as Damus lies dying, he reveals he is looking for his lost son, Mar. In his final breath, the pieces click together for Jak. Damus was his father all along, and he never got to tell him. It's a gut-wrenching scene that gives Jak's final push to save the world a deeply personal motivation. And then there is the twist. For 3 games, the precursors have been hyped up as these ominous, towering gods of the universe. When Jak finally opens the door to meet their creators, out step 3 Ottsouls, the exact same weasel-like species as Daxter. It is one of the most audacious, hilarious, and polarizing twists in gaming history. Some feel they undermine the epic lore, but it perfectly fits Naughty Dog's DNA, serving as the ultimate cosmic joke and giving Daxter the comic relief, the final laugh, realizing he had been a god all along. Okay, when these games came out, I was a wee little lad. I was a kid, right? So this story arc, these stories of the games, I understood them kind of, but you know, as a kid, I'm just playing a fun video game, right? The story is just kind of there just to put some cool cutscenes. Because as a kid, I was really looking forward for cutscenes. I love cutscenes as a kid. I love seeing, it's like seeing a cartoon or a movie, whatever. So when I finished this game when I was a kid, way back when, fucking 20 years, more than 20 years ago, holy fucking shit. I don't remember how I initially reacted to the fact that Daxter and Otsoul, and if you don't know, Otsoul is a mixture between otter and weasel. So that's where the name comes from. That Daxter's a fucking precursor. He's a fucking god, right? And as a kid, I didn't know what the fuck precursors were. Like, I knew they were like ancient beings or something, but besides that, I had no idea what the fuck they were. And then for the game saying, lol, haha, the fucking these gods, these mysterious gods that built the world, you know, made the world what it is, made blah blah blah. It's a fucking little rat. What? So now that I'm older and the franchise is dead, Sony doesn't care. Lost Frontier doesn't count. No one talks about Lost Frontier. Now that the trilogy's dead, the games are over, Jak is never gonna see the light of day. It's not a bad ending. Like it's not that terrible. That Daxter is a fucking god. Like he's the same species as the precursors, as the people that created the planet, the world, whatever. It's kind of funny. You know, it's a serious game, it's a serious trilogy, it's a serious story. But it's not bad. It fits the fucking like aesthetic, the theme of Jak and Daxter. That Daxter is a fucking precursor. That the Otsos are the ones that created the world, and they're the these fucking gods that Jak and his people revere. And I know this is maybe a hot take. I did just fucking say in the script that it's polarizing, which is true. Like I can see the argument as to why this fucking sucks for some people. Like you're playing this serious, quote unquote, serious game where you're trying to save the world. We've been told through these 3 games that these precursors are like these mysterious beings, and they're strong. They have the fucking force or whatever. And then it turns out that they're fucking rats. I'd be pissed if my reasoning was that kind of in the ending. So I get it. I understand if you're on the fence or on the other side of the fence where it sucks, and I respect your opinion. I'm not gonna shit on you for having that opinion. I can see the opinion, but for me, it kind of fits with not only as Naughty Dog's like development, as a developer, they're like the thing, So TLDR, the ending of the game, it was cool. Yeah. One thing I will criticize the game heavily is the characters, the side characters. If I'm being honest, I feel like almost all the characters that played a big role in the first game, the second game, they kind of got left behind. A good example is Samus and Kira. Like, they weren't even in the game. They were just legit just forgotten by the devs or the writers. The writers really only focused on Spargus City and fucking Torn and Ashland. And I get it. I understand why they focus on Torn and Ashland, because they're the ones running the war. They're the commanders, generals, captains, whatever the fuck their role is. And Samus and Kira are kind of just there. That's the best way I can put it. Which kind of sucks, because Samus is essentially Jak's adoptive dad, right? And Kira is his kind of girlfriend, kind of not. Because at the end of the Jak 3, he kisses Ashlyn, and Kira's nowhere to be seen. But in Jak 2, he kisses Kira, and then in Jak X, I think he's with Kira at that point. So I don't know what the fuck. That actually does piss me off. I'm not gonna lie. Oh my god, there's so much shit in my head right now. I gotta read the script. I'll continue the character shit later. I gotta read the script. As a retrospective, as a review, as me just talking to a microphone, we have to look at the cracks in the armor and the reality of a 1-year development cycle for this game. Jak 3 suffers from a noticeable case of identity crisis and minigame bloat. In its desperation to assure the player is never bored, the game constantly rips you away from its excellent core platforming and shooting to force you into gimmicky minigames. You'll be playing an incredibly tedious Pac-Man clone to hack a door, or doing a bizarre button matching dance rhythm game, or struggling with a top-down vehicle shooter section. While variety is good, Jak 3 occasionally feels like a collection of disjointed mechanics duct taped together. Additionally, while the Dune buggies are a great addition, the physics engine wasn't quite built for them. Hitting a small rock in the Wasteland can send your vehicle spinning wildly out of control, making some of the timed driving missions an excessive and pure frustration. The narrative, while emotionally satisfying, also rushes through some massive plot points in the final bags to hit the finish line. So in terms of the minigames, yeah, the minigames are annoying, and Naughty Dog is known for the minigames. Jak 2 had them, Jak 1 had them. But this game, it was like every other mission, there was a fucking minigame. There was the shooting one, where you're shooting the little flying targets and then the aliens come out. And then there's like the Pac-Man shit. That was so stupid, bro. Like, it's so dumb. And I'm not gonna lie, even the missions themselves, like the plot of the story missions, the platform, the shooting, it all felt, I wouldn't say repetitive, but they themselves felt like a minigame compared to Jak 2, where they actually felt like missions and there were objectives and a reason to do them. In this game, it just feels like, here, Jak, go fucking, like, do this, kill that, because that's it. That's why. Like, I don't know. You can argue that Jak 2 was similar, right? Jak, here's a gun, go here, kill that, come back. But I feel like in Jak 2, there was more of a reason to actually do it. And this game, we're just making Jak 2 just do bullshit to progress through the story. Like, the entire game just feels like a rushed minigame. Like, it could have been an email or a Jak 2 DLC if I'm being completely harsh with the game. As much as I love it, I love Jak, I love the Jak trilogy, one of my favorite games of all time, it does feel like it suffers when it comes to the actual, like, gameplay missions. Then, the driving, dude. The driving was the fucking worst. Thankfully, they fixed it for Jak X, and honestly, I don't even know if Naughty Dog did develop Jak X, but that's besides the point. Jak X, it was fixed. The driving was drivable. Cars they worked. Jak 3 felt like a fucking tech demo or an unpatched, untested driving simulator. As cool as the cars are, and as cool as it is to drive a car in Jak, before we just drove the fucking hovercrafts with like no freedom essentially, the cars do provide some sort of freedom and some sort of engaging way to play the game. You kill shit, you collect shit. The collecting shit was so repetitive, bro. There were so many missions of collecting shit. That's another thing, right? They couldn't do much with the cars, right? They obviously wanted you to enjoy the car portions of the game. There's only so much you can do with a car. You either kill the metalheads, or you kill the martyrs, or you collect artifacts. That's it. Or it can also get you to point A to point B with specific vehicles. But the actual physics engine, or what, if they didn't use a physics engine, I don't even fucking know. If you hit a tiny little rock, your car will go flying into the fucking stratosphere. If one of the metalheads kicks you, you'll go flying across the map and take 1 million damage. You can get stuck. You can get wedged in between a rock and a hard place. Haha. The steering felt really fucking loose. I get it. We're driving on sand. The thing is, I don't know if that was intentional because you're driving on sand, or because the fucking engine couldn't handle it. Not the car engine, the game engine. There were some very frustrating parts of the game where it involved the cars. I remember one time, one of the missions rather, it was when the martyrs were escaping, and I had the dune hopper one, the one that jumps. And the thing is, you can't aim. You can't aim with any weapon in Jak 2, Jak 3. It's just fucking hope it lands type of game. And when you're driving a car that jumps really high, and it's a grenade launcher rather than, you know, a weapon that targets or shoots properly, you had to fucking balance that shit. You had to balance the bouncy of the car. You have to balance the steering of landing. It was just annoying. The driving was cool, but it was just not implemented well. I feel like the devs had little time to fucking test it and make sure that it wasn't as annoying as it is to play. But despite its flaws and rushed development, Jak 3 is a towering achievement. It's the ultimate refinement of Naughty Dog's PS2 engine, which I think it's called the Goal engine, something like that. They took the brutal difficulty of Jak 2, smoothed off the edges with light Jak, and gave the player an arsenal of weapons so powerful they practically broke the game in the most fun way possible. That's another thing, that there's a lot of criticism nowadays, not really so much when I was a kid or for me personally, but Jak 2 was kind of hard. It was a hard game. Jak 3 does feel way easier than Jak 2. Jak 2 was challenging, but it was fun. That's the whole point of video games, is to get challenged, right? But yeah, it was way easier than Jak 2. Looking back, Jak 3 is more than just a great sequel. It is the end of an era. It was Naughty Dog's final traditional platformer before they shifted their focus entirely to cinematic realism, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you go, of Uncharted and The Last of Us. And then the new one, that's Cyberpunk, or, you know, 80s one. You can see the DNA of Nathan Drake in the massive set pieces and the seamless vehicles of combat transition in this game. It closed the book on one of the greatest trilogies in gaming history, delivering a satisfying, hilarious, and action-packed farewell to Jak and Daxter the Ottsel. It made me sad when I recently replayed it for this video, or just for my enjoyment, and I decided to make a video after. Because, dude, it's like, you know, it's a childhood game. It's nostalgic. It's like, you know, when times were better and etc., nostalgic shit. And it sucks more that Sony and Naughty Dog abandoned the fuck out of these two dudes. Sly at least got Sly Thieves in Time, even though that's kind of controversial. Ratchet and Clank is for a fucking miracle is still alive and kicking. With the latest one even being on PC, even though that's canceled because Sony's fucking full of you know, dummies. And then again, The Lost Frontier doesn't really count because it's a shit game. Wasn't developed by Naughty Dog, even though it doesn't really matter. And it was on the PSP and then PS2. It's a shit show for Jack. That's the reason why this video is kind of longer than usual. I had a lot of shit to say because I love this game. I love Jak 2 and Jak 3. So I have a lot of shit to say, and when I have to criticize it, I criticize it because I fucking love the game. Like I said, replaying it now with I guess reviewer retrospective eye, it really made me like see that there are a lot of flaws to this game. Like, it's not perfect. I usually play with rose tinted glasses with nostalgia in my head when I usually replay it, but this time I replayed it with, you know, making the video in mind, or rather, not really the video in mind, but it made me. I just played it in a way that made me see that, wow, this game isn't as perfect I used to think, and yeah, there are so many issues with this game. But at the end of the day, it's a fun game. I'm not saying it's a shit game. It's a great game. It's a great way to end a trilogy, which I wish they can bring back, but you know, corporate overlords don't even want marathon and unlimited fucking live service games, even though they fail, and no more single player games because that's no money. Even though Resident Evil 9 and Pragmata did pretty well, but whatever. But yeah, ending the rant, ended the video. Hope you enjoyed. Sorry for not uploading in almost 2 months, I think. One of my hard drives died with all my fucking footage, and that destroyed my feelings. So I lost all my footage, and I couldn't, you know, make a video because I didn't have any footage for any game. So I had to play some games. Next video, Resident Evil 9, almost done with that. I have footage for that. So again, sorry for the delay. I lost all my shit. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Bye.